Hi, this is Timothy Schutte with Exit Realty and Associates. Welcome back to my video blog. Had a house that we sold here recently, represented the buyer on, and it was a newer construction poured foundation that had a foundation crack in it. And it was a little bigger than what a normal just cement crack was. And we had to do some research. I've seen the product before, but it was really injector epoxy that they throw in there. And what that epoxy, they call it stronger than cement or something like that, where it's actually very, very tough, very strong. And it was one of those things that's like, okay, we know this is here. We know it's fixed. We're comfortable with it. So we were able to move forward. With that said, there's different foundation types. So that was a newer construction with poured foundation. What we typically see foundation issues in is your concrete block foundations built about from the maybe late 40s to early 70s, late 60s, even into sometimes you'll see some in the 80s. But there's a difference in how they constructed them. So your cinder blocks are hollow in the middle. And those early few decades that they used it, across the street from my office, Windsor Heights, older 63rd Street, Des Moines, those cinder blocks are hollow and they didn't core them. So what does that mean? So there was a code change that happened sometime in, I think it was the 70s, where every 4 feet they were required to put some rebar and put concrete down that hollow core, which was much, much stronger to be able to stop what we would call, or what I would call, a Frostline freeze. So my experience with Frostline freeze cracks, when you get about 3-4 feet down under the ground is frozen on top of it, and below that it's not frozen, but that expansion from the frost pushes that foundation in and you get a crack in there. I bought a house, one of my first houses I lived in, and I saw that it was about a 1/2 inch big gap, and I physically, personally myself, back then, that was a good little over a decade ago, I cut out the floor and put in a drain tile and a trench and sealed it and put up steel beams, which is what your anchored walls or your Midwest basement systems, BAM basements, that's what they do for that. And really the purpose of this video is to know that it's not the end all be all that you have that Frostline freeze, because with my property, I left it exposed and I watched it for 2 years before I actually sealed it back up. And that crack would go from 1/4 inch all the way to 3/4 of an inch, depending on the time of the year and if the ground was moving or not. And the biggest thing with that, so you got the frost situation, but you also have to keep moisture away. So if your dirt flows towards the house, which my house at the time did, it flowed towards the house. I had to get a puddle right up against the house all the time. That moisture can also get into those blocks as well. Really what we're talking about is with a foundation in different styles, there's different strengths to them. There's different fixes to them. And over the last 5 years, it's been much more common to see your steel I-beams. So with those concrete block walls, with my experience there, I really felt like I learned a lot and was able to become an expert with it as through those years watching it, fixing it myself, knowing how that works. But if you do have any questions about your foundation, or if you're looking at a house that has some foundation issues, I'd be happy to help. We have some experience in that. We'd love to talk with you. Again, this is Timothy Schutte with Exit Realty and Associates. Thank you for watching.